Once upon a time, in a not so distant place, there lived a little point named P. Now, Point P was young, but he was a dreamer. He dreamed of one day leaving his origin, which everyone knew was the intersection of the x and y axis, since these two roads were the most traveled in the land of Cartesia. Cartesia was the country in which Point P lived, and Cartesia was made up of the x and y axis, as well as all of the smaller number lines. These number lines formed a grid, and to the common folk of Cartesia, this grid was commonly known as the coordinate plane. Now the day has come where Point P wanted to seize his dreams of moving out of the origin and adventuring to the other places on this coordinate plane, and that day was finally here. But when he went to leave, he had no idea where to go. He looked all around and did not move until one of his friends gave him some directions. His friend, Point Q, gave him a map that had 4, 0 on it. "What is this?" Point P asked. "It's called an ordered pair," Point Q responded. "Think of it as directions. Go down the x-axis until you get to 4, and then rest there, because the second number is for the y-axis. And since this number is 0, you don't have to move." So this is where Point P went, and while he was there, he was quite happy. But something inside of him longed to go deeper into the coordinate plane, and he questioned where was he going to venture. He finally decided to go north of where the ordered pair 4, 0 was. He asked around until finally someone said, "Oh, you want to venture north? Well, that land is called Quadrant 1. "What is a quadrant?" asked Point P. "Well, there are 4 of them, and it's the areas where the x-axis and the y-axis have divided the coordinate plane. As for Quadrant 1, your ordered pairs will always be positive, both the x and y numbers, but if you venture to any other land, they both will be different. But that tale is for another time." And the stranger left with a smile as he gave Point P all this valuable information. Well, Point P went back to the origin to tell of his adventures to his friends and family of the ordered pair of 4, 0, and to rest before his adventures to Quadrant 1 would begin. The next day he awoke with this note on his door: "If you adventure to Quadrant 1, remember to take your slope." Point P was a bit confused, because he had never heard of this slope before, so he asked around until Mr. Straightline answered his questions. A slope is the ratio of vertical changes to the horizontal changes. Basically, it's what you use if you have to get back to your starting point from where you ended up at, Mr. Straightline said. "Okay," Point P said, very unsure of himself. But he gathered up his belongings and thanked Mr. Straightline, and then proceeded to travel to the Quadrant 1, but more specifically the ordered pair 5, 6, because someone back in the origin told him that this was a very nice place to visit during this time of the year. Tune in next time to find out more adventures of Point P, and if he ever made it to Quadrant 1.